Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. And so is this wonderful brother that we are going to present today. I'm telling you, it's going to be such a great conversation. This is Gary Fuston, and you might hear me say smooth jazz guitar, and you get something in your mind like, yeah, we've heard smooth jazz guitar before, but no, I'm talking about the real chill. I'm talking about melodies forever. This is the brother right here. He's been doing it for more than 25 years out of Oklahoma City. This is the man, Gary Fuston. What's happening, brother? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jerry B. Thanks, man. How you doing, sir?
And I'm doing absolutely excellent. I also want to thank you for inviting me onto your platform, man. I mean, I was here maybe 2 weeks ago, introduced to you by the lovely Joy Spencer, saxophonist extraordinaire, and she invited me to your platform, and you guys showed me so much love. So thank you very much.
Oh yeah, man. Well, it's our pleasure. We really enjoyed having you on the show, man. It was great. You had a lot of great information to add to our viewers and some of the artists that tune in with us on the weekly. And it was just great. It was great having you. So I just appreciate you doing that for us and coming on. And I appreciate you bringing me on today for your show today.
Man, I tell you what, I've been tripping on your music all week. I did not know. I thought, 3 or 4 CDs, but you got CD after CD after project after project. And I'm like, wow. It was a marathon, man.
Right.
You've been at it.
Yeah, I've been at it for a minute. A lot of people don't know because I kind of do it like almost on the down low, like so to speak, because it's been I do so much different or so many different things. Of course, I have the GHP Radio Indie Live Spot program going on, and then of course I work a full-time job too. So all this I do it with the time that it's provided for me to do.
Correct.
And but I have been doing it for a while. Yes, you're right. Back in 2002 is when I actually got started. I was introduced to the internet, at that time, actually around 2000 was when I got my very first computer. I never had a computer before, and a friend of mine was already doing some audio recording on a computer, and so that's kind of how I got turned on to it because this friend of mine, he was actually doing tracks and everything, and I don't know if you remember back in the day when Cakewalk was the thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well,
so what was it? Version 3? Was it 3?
I think so. Yeah, I think so because it was a pretty old version at the time.
Sure.
And but I got kind of familiar with that, learning a little bit that, from a friend. And so once I got, kind of familiar with everything and got comfortable enough to put down some music to actually put out, I actually, in 2002, I actually released my very first CD. It was titled The Best of G. Fuston because I didn't really know what to go with. I how some people have their own artist names and things like that. So I just kind of went with G because a lot of people do call me G. All my friends growing up. So I released that, and it was really exciting. It was new. I didn't know, how it was going to be received because at the time, like I said, I was new to the internet, and there was all kinds of artists out there. Actually, before that, I used to network on a site called mp3.com. If you might remember.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So that was a way of of me kind of getting familiar with other artists at the time, and actually, this was right before. I want to say probably about a year or two before I actually started doing radio, and we'll get into that a little bit. But
sure.
I released this CD, and a friend of mine, in fact, I was guy. He was a vocalist from the UK, and I actually got introduced to him through the mp3.com site. He actually I heard something that I had put out online. It was a instrumental at the time, and I guess he actually thought so much of it that he wanted to write, some lyrics to it and put actual lyrics to it. And so after I heard his voice, what he can do, because he actually sent me some samples of some music that he actually done, and I was really impressed. I mean, this guy at the time when when I heard him, he sounded almost like, if I had my eyes closed, he almost sounded like Michael Jackson. Oh wow! I mean, it was crazy, and so I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. So anyway, at that time, before emailing big files and things like that, what I did was I put the instrumental version of it, because at that time that version was a instrumental, and I had like a piano lead that I was doing over it at the time, and he actually followed the lead of my piano and put the words to it and kind of did his thing on it. And so what I did, I put it on a disc, a CD disc, and then send it off to him by mail. And he took it to a studio, and they did their little magic on it and send it back. And I was like just blown away. Yeah, because it was it was just unreal. And I was like, man, this sounds really good, because they did a real good job doing the recording over it, and it sounded like we were actually in the studio together. Yeah, man. And so anyway, make a long story short, he came over here for about a month, because he was so impressed, at the time, and he wanted to actually do like an EP. So when he came over, and we spent about 4 or 5 months, and did a nice little EP. And then he encouraged me, because he said, man, all this music that you've been doing, he said, you ought to go ahead and put it online. And see, he was already familiar with the online stuff and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of helped me, get my stuff online, and he pointed me out to some places, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So that's how I kind of got my very first CD out. and so when I did that, I mean, after that, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna start just keep doing this. And over the years, man, I just actually accumulated a lot of music, that I just have sitting on my hard drive. And and it's funny, because I always say, well, I'm going to release this piece of music or this kind of music or whatever. And then when it's time to put a new CD out, I end up doing something else, and it just adds to it, which is okay, because I still have some, music in the library. But yes, sir, that's kind of how things kind of started for me on the music front.
That's really interesting. Now, with respect to those years, the things I remember, I definitely remember mp3.com. I definitely remember Cakewalk 3. And I think the only game in town at that time was CD Baby with Derek Sivers. You know what I mean? Was that the way you released it?
Yep, you're right. Yep, yeah. Exactly, man.
And Derek was a visionary, man. It got to the point where I was calling him Uncle Derek, and emailing him on some things. He was just such a cool guy. And Derek, if you're watching, man, what's up? He did kind of revolutionize that whole indie revolution.
Really
revolutionized the indie revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. He did, man. It was just so cool. I mean, because, that was, as an artist myself, coming into it brand new and not ever having to, put out a CD, a thing like that. And I mean, it was very exciting at the time. And, sure. And then the way they operated at the time, like I said, right off up to now, I still have my music through CD Baby. I mean, today, but there has been some changes, here recently.
Absolutely.
But yes, man. I mean, back then I can remember, because, like I said, it was like, they farm out your music to all the digital distribution places and things like that. So it was really, really cool to have an outlet like that.
Definitely. And I believe they're owned by disc makers now. And I can't remember
Yeah.
Tony's last name. Tony is his name.
Yeah.
but
Right.
But
Yeah.
he puts out some interesting articles too. But anyway, we're not going to pit one platform guru
Right.
against another. But
Sure.
the one thing that I did say, and then we can move on. But the one thing that I did say, and I noted the last time that I contacted CD Baby, was it was much easier getting a person on before,
Yeah.
than
Yes.
it is now.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're dealing with
Correct.
musicians. We don't want to do the AI thing right now.
Right. Right.
I'm just saying. But tell me about your formative years. I mean, before you put out that first CD, I mean, were you in high school bands, or when did it come to the point where you knew, hey, I'm going to do music. This is my life.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's a good question, because it all started for me early in life. I mean, actually, when I was in grade school, I mean, I could remember I had an aunt, okay, and she was a piano. She played piano really good. I mean, she played for the church and things like that. So there was always a piano or organ or something, around when I was a kid. So, and of course, naturally for me, I see that's going to levitate, me over there. If I see something like that, I'm interested, because we've always had music in the house. Of course, hearing all the great stuff, from the phono records and back in the day, all the way through the 8 tracks, cassette days, all the way up, man.
All that noise.
Yeah. And so I've always loved music, and everything. And like I said, once I got to, I want to say probably around the age of 10, 11 is when I started just kind of getting on the piano and just, going at it with some keys, and just picking up things. It was weird, because I always felt like this was truly a gift, because at that time, I didn't have any training or anything like that, but it was when we listened to records and I would get up on that piano, I would somehow pick up those notes like it wasn't nothing. It was crazy. And so during that, my parents, they used to kind of take note of it. And so when I actually got up in junior high and high school and stuff, especially when in junior high, they did let me get into the band, and I started out actually drummer. I picked drums for some reason. I don't know why, but we had choices, of all different things to pick from. But I just kind of gravitated to the drums, and like 2 of my best friends at the time, they were actually same way. They wanted to play drums as well. So we actually made our own little drum cadence group, back then. We're in school, and then of course through by the time we was about ready to finish high school, actually before we finished high school, because I forgot, we early in the first part of high school, we actually us 3, and then of course we picked up a couple other people, but we actually put us a little band together, and so that's where the guitar and all that stuff comes in, because at the time, one of the friends of ours, his name was Marshall, I'll never forget it, but he had somehow his parents bought him a trap set, and so we went on and said, okay, you're going to go ahead and take care of the drum department. And then my other friend, he had a bass guitar already. I think his parents had bought him one. I was the only one that didn't have, other than my regular snare drum and stuff at school, I didn't have like another instrument. So they was like, well, what do you want to play? And I was like, well, I guess I need to get a guitar, And so my father bought me one. It was a little, beginner's electric, I don't know. It was a little solid body. It wasn't nothing special, but it was something to learn. And so once I got that, we all kind of got together and we just kind of put a nice little band together, and we got to a point where we would do our little talent shows at the school, and then we would go out and and then it got to the point where we started really grabbing attention to all of, the locals. And so our music teacher, she took initiative, and she actually took us out on the road, so to speak, kind of like, she would find all these little places for us to go perform. And so she would take us there. And so that was all exciting, but that's kind of how I got really into the music thing. And once we did that, actually finished high school, and then about maybe a year after high school, we kept it together, and then we all disbanded because everybody had to do certain things. So, but I just continued. I was like, man, I can't, I got to do something. So during my, when got out of high school, I actually did maybe 2 years of school after that. I went to college here in Oklahoma, at the University of Science and Arts, and I entered to their jazz band department. So I was able to play guitar for the jazz band for a while as I was there, and then later, as I went out on my own, I just started investing in little pieces of equipment, recording equipment, and that's kind of how it all came together. And so I've always been doing recording stuff, just kind of putting music together. And then I would sometimes like we had some people in the neighborhood that they weren't really musically inclined, but some of them were vocalists. I always seemed like I was always writing for either a vocalist, or we had a few guys that used to rap and all that kind of stuff. So we would do all that, but that's how it all began, man. And that's what kind of brought me into it. And then, like I said, it wasn't for, long after those little years, I said I was able to finally get enough equipment to really, do some really serious recordings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, who were you listening to as far as guitar is concerned? Who were your influences? I mean, I hear, let me tell you what I hear. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I hear a little bit of George Benson. I hear a little bit of Norman Brown. I hear a touch of Earl Klugh in there. I mean, but who were you listening to?
All of those guys. All of those guys you mentioned, of course. You're right on. All of those guys. And in fact, I'm going to be honest, I've always listened to those guys, but I got to give credit to my good friend Maurice Johnson. He's an author. He's a great guitarist. But I actually used to watch him play on his porch. I mean, he was really into Benson. I mean, so good to where he had all of Benson's licks down. I mean, he played just like Benson. I mean, and over the years, he actually got to play on stage with Benson. And everything. So, but Maurice, he was the guy that actually taught me my very first chords, and so I got to give it up to Maurice. But after seeing Maurice and watching him through the years, I mean, I just couldn't help it. I mean, I was just like, I've got to get me a guitar and learn this, play, at least learn. I may not be as good as he is, but I want to at least do something.
I got to tell you, man, your touch is right on point. You convey the melody so well. And you talk to the audience, you talk to the listener with your fingers, man. So Maurice must have taught you well as Earl.
Oh, yeah.
Norman and George. Yeah. There's a little bit of Wes Montgomery going on in there. And I'm like, okay. It's so interesting how similar our paths have been with respect to our formative years and music. And then the next step is radio for me, because I was a radio talk show producer for years and years. How did you get into radio?
Yeah, well, and of course, when I say radio, I'm not, I didn't do any like terrestrial radio or anything like that, but I did do online broadcasting. And the way that actually started was actually, I want to say probably around 2004, 2003 is when we really got into it. But as you met Mac, Ray Mac.
Yeah.
Well, he actually he had I can't remember how long he had been retired, but he had retired from the services, and he used to always come, I live here in Oklahoma, but he used to actually live here in Oklahoma, and but he lived, he moved to Texas, but he would always stop through Oklahoma and kind of check up on me, see what I was up to, musically and stuff, because he always knew I was into the music. And one day he came through and he was like, man, he said, man, I got all this time now that I'm retired. He said, I'm going to try to start an online broadcasting. And he said, I already bought my servers. I bought all this equipment, and he said, I need somebody to help me, kind of put something together. So, and I was like, well, man, I said, I don't even know anything about radio, and he said, well, I don't either. He said, we're going to do this together. I was like, okay. I said, okay. I said, let's do it, man. And so anyway, it was really cool. He was able to get this really nice, cool setup. He had a guy out of Atlanta that basically built the whole thing for him. And once he had it all together, man, we were able to do a 24/7 online broadcast, and he had I had GHP radio broadcast, and then he had maybe 4 other broadcasts. He had a gospel station, and he had even another jazz station of his own, and then he also had I think he had he had one that he was going to do for some comedians at the time, but I can't remember what all happened to that. But he did have at least 4 or 5 different stations streaming, plus with GHP Radio. And GHP Radio, we basically made that the flagship of the whole thing, basically. And so it was like he wanted to get these things going, and he had some other ideals. But through the years, once we started, what I started doing, I just started networking with all the artists that I had networked, through my little network, from the mp3.com days all the way up to that point. And I was just telling them, I said, guys, I got this opportunity to do a nice little 24/7 radio stream, and I want to help you guys promote your music along with myself. And I said, my friend Ray, he's going to do some radio promotion for us and all this stuff. So we were just out there. We were just trying to do something, we just kind of followed each other, and I just, kind of jumped into it. So once, we got the playlist thing going on, then I was like, well, okay, let's see about trying to do an actual show, So instead of just having music streaming, we started doing I put a little program together, and I think at that time we were doing it on Thursday nights. And there was I remember they used to have this this site called Ning.com. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember.
Yeah. And I remember signing up for that, and I was like, man, we can use this, because I knew with the platform, it had its own chat room, and it had where you can get all these members to join and all this stuff. So I put that together for the station, and then we had people coming in, logging in, and coming in to listen. And what I did at the time, I would schedule a interview with an artist, early that week, and on a day that they can do it, and then I would actually record and edit all together and get it ready for the actual live show. And I would just throw it in, whenever we get ready to come on and stuff. And we did that for a while, and then after that, it just kind of evolved, and then Griselda, bless her heart, we lost her this year, but I met her, and we brought her on as a host. So I had Ray and her, and then of course Joyce came along. We had some other people that came in between before Joyce came, but it just kind of it went through all these years until we got up to we kind of changed with the technology. It was just kind of crazy because everything was so new, and then when I want to say probably within the last, I'm going to say maybe 5-6 years. I'm just kind of guessing right now, but Ray had to shut down his broadcast with the servers and things because he had some issues with it or something. So we were down for about a month, and then I came up with this live stream for on YouTube, and then so we kind of picked up on that, and so and at the time when all that was going on, I had so much other stuff happening because I was doing my music and I had some other projects. I was working with other people, so it kind of, the 24/7 radio broadcast kind of stopped at a time. I guess it was just kind of meant to be because it gave me more time to dedicate myself to this new show where we stream online. I mean, on YouTube, and it was also something new for us because we're visual now. People can actually see it, and so it was kind of wild, bringing a face to the picture now, and people can see who we were, or over the years, because before that they just saw pictures and stuff like that, and so it's been a journey, man. It really has been a journey, but now it's just been really cool having this platform with the Indie Live Spot, and it's perfect because we do it once a week on Saturdays, and that gives me time and in between time so I can tend to my other little projects and things like that. So, but yeah, that's how that all went. So, and who knows? We don't know what's going to happen between now and the future. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
But I tell you what, you are actually going the way of the EntreMusician. I mean, you mentioned holding down a day job. You mentioned, figuring it out as you're flying, so you're actually flying in the air, building the plane. And that's what EntreMusicians do all the time, because we just try to get it done. There's the idea. There may be money, there may not be money, but we just do it and make it happen. So I'm really grateful to have known you. I want to walk back into your music career, though, with respect to holding down, a day job and being able to produce the volume of music that you have. What is your aim? Is your aim to continue or to broaden the platform for your music and walk in that direction and leave the job behind? Are they going to continue to coexist, or what's your vision?
Well, yeah, my vision is to someday, hopefully, because well, my whole ideal is right now is with all the music that I've actually been putting out there and putting back, and sometimes occasionally I'll put an album out or whatever. But right now my focus is to I always, this is a dream of mine, but I've always actually wanted to actually just produce music for film and TV. That's always been a thing that I've always been interested in, because I really enjoy producing music and just the whole thing about doing it. I've never been actually an artist that wants to be out front and want to do the performing thing like that. I mean, it's kind of funny because with all the music that I have done, I've had so many people ask me, are you out there performing? When are you coming to this city?
Sure.
Things like that. And so, and I always have to tell them, I said, well, I would be honored to do that, but I said, that's not where I'm at right now. I said, really, my whole deal right now is basically in music production. I love putting the music out, and I like to write for others and as well as for myself. So to answer your question right now, is just my focus is to keep extending my library, and at the same time working my way and just trying to see where I can actually fit in to get my music in front of TV commercials or things of that nature, or whatever, in that realm. I mean, because that's something that I would really enjoy, and it would be awesome to be able to do it on a full-time basis. It would be awesome, but that's a goal that I'm working my way to. So we'll just see how far I can go and how long. I'm not in a big hurry, and I'm, like I said, I'm kind of content with my regular day job right now, but at the same time, I devote a lot of time to this other side, whenever I'm not there at work. So
it seems like you're living dual lives, because for you to have put out the amount of music you have, it's like, wow, I mean, there are people who work, certainly most of us do, with day jobs, but the music seems to be sporadic, but you've just been clicking away. And by the way, on your the last show you had my good friend Barry Coughing, who's a music supervisor. So
yes,
that's good.
It was great having him on. I mean, he really kind of opened up a lot of answers and and things to in that field, as far as I mean, he really was a great guest to have on.
Absolutely.
And so I was really pleased, and thanks to the whole network, your friend and your work, and Joyce, being out front to get him over to come on the show. It's great.
I think they were both on Artist Impact as panelists. I think they were on the same episode, and that's how they met. And she invited them over. So that's real good. But Barry's a good dude, and your show plays in perpetuity. So just because it was live, it still is available on YouTube for people to go and watch it and see it again. So
absolutely.
I would recommend that one. I would recommend it highly. That was a great show.
It was.
Definitely.
It was.
But I need to ask just a couple more questions, because I'm curious when you are listening to the type of music that you've produced, and you definitely have your own sound. I told you who I thought you reminded me of in your approach to playing, but I'm interested in how you're inspired to come up with the melodies that you do. I mean, what zone are you in?
Yeah, it's crazy. I just give it to glory. It's just because it's like whenever I'm in a mode to write, it's crazy. I don't have a particular way of starting out. It's not like a template. It's just I kind of go off of what I'm feeling, a certain day, or I might hear a certain melody, but yeah, I've always been big with melodies. I always feel that that's a very important thing to have in your music, because too many times I've heard a lot of stuff out there that's repetitious. You know what I mean? Where you have just the constant same thing over and over, and I just don't. I can't. I mean, I've heard stuff that can go, and it can be repetitious. It's just the way they, oh gosh, I don't know how they say it. I guess just the way they add things to it. But I've always been big with melodies. I mean, that's just something I've always heard in old school music. I can hear a lot of that stuff, and I just kind of go with it, because, like I said, I don't really write scores or anything like that. I'm just it just comes to me, and I'm just a play by ear guy, and that's always been kind of a thing that I used to worry about a lot, back in when I was coming up, doing this. I used to always I wish I can actually put a piece of sheet music, in front of me and just sight read it and play it. I always wanted to be able to do that, and I feel like at some point, if I just make the time, I can actually learn it myself. But I mean, but I just never felt like I had to. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, over the years, I worked this way so long, and so it's just kind of a natural thing that happens for me.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because of the fact that I'm going to have to do an episode on that particular approach with two different perspectives, because I've worked with several musicians. Most of the musicians that I've worked with are all quote unquote by ear, or they are hybrid where they can't read like literal sheet music, but they have chord charts and they have a circle of fifths, and they have the number system and whatnot that help them. And it's really interesting because on one hand you have very serious, and I'll say this with quotations, very serious musicians who they have to have sheet music, and that's just the way it is. And then you have the hybrid, or you have those who are very loose and don't rely on sheet music at all. And I've seen like train wrecks on both sides of the street, in the sense that I've seen musicians who could strictly read sheet music, but they couldn't jam or improv with you at all. You know what I mean?
Right. I've seen that too. Yes.
But then, of course, I've seen the brothers and sisters who could jam and don't read, get into situations where they were biting off a little bit more than they can chew because it needed to be that technical. So
yes.
That would be a great conversation to have.
It would. Yeah, it would, man, because
so
it's
either
always
your show or my show.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Very good topic there.
Yeah, definitely, because I've seen it. I've seen both sides of the street, and I don't read very well at all, but I have, by God's grace, cheated a little bit and been in those sessions where you needed to step up. And if I didn't listen to the amount of music that I do, when the producer said, this is where we're headed, oh, okay, I could kind of like fake it till you make it. But then I would know that those really high class sessions, I better stay out of the room and not raise my hand because I'd get run over.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean, because, it's always been, as I was coming up, because I had no clue what, before I actually really got into this music recording thing and all this stuff, and always dreamed of getting my music out there and all that stuff. Well, that was the one fear of mine I used to always have. It was like, well, because I can't read music, are people going to look or listen to my music or think of my music a certain way or not? I used to always wonder that, and I think that was another thing that kind of hindered me from actually really wanting to go out and perform with bands and things of that nature, because I figured, that might become a problem. What if, you get out there and they say, well, do you know this or, whatever. And I wouldn't know. I would have to, have to like, oh, no. So that kind of has always been for me. But in the real, I never have felt like I want to be on stage and play. I always wanted to be the guy in the studio, just putting music, writing music, putting it together, doing projects or whatever, for whatever the case might be. If I'm writing music for a jingle to do this, or writing music for another artist, or whatever the place. I'm happy. I'm happy in that space.
Yeah, I understand that completely. So tell me, what's next for you? You started out your career collaborating online. Are you still open to do that? Can other musicians get in contact with you with your music?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I'm always open to collaborate. I enjoy collaborating. In fact, I have done some collaborations here in the past, and it's always been great. I love it because you get a different perspective, especially whenever you're working with somebody else, and it always makes you do things differently,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
what kind of equipment are you working with? What's your DAW of choice now? Have you left Cakewalk behind, or what are you using?
Yeah. Right now, for the last I want to say probably last 6, 8 years now, I've been locked into Reasons, and then I've also combined a little bit, with Logic too, because I would used to interact them together, and everything, and do some things like that. So, but for the most part, it's been Reason here just lately, but I've been looking at some other ones, because you know how it is when you're used to something for so long.
Sure.
But you're very interested in doing some, trying out some other stuff, and it's like another learning curve, but at the same time it's exciting. So I just bought another iMac, because the iMac that I have now, it's like old, but it's still kicking. Still kicking. But I got me a new one. I hadn't even hooked it up yet, but I'm getting ready to kind of upgrade my system and jump in there and get ready for some some really serious recording stuff. Really cool. So.
No, that's really cool. It's interesting because, as I said, and this, you're going to find this to be very unusual, but our paths really has taken that parallel, because I've been with Reason since version 3, leaving Cakewalk for that. But I'm just going to be straight up. I'm not going to buy Reason 12. I think the current leadership have lost their way. I'm not just gonna, I've been in forums and whatnot and talking about. Right. In fact, I just bought Neutron 4 because I'm a huge Isotope fan, and so Neutron 4 won't play in Reason because they're not up to VST 3. And you think, wait a minute, come on, wait a minute, wait,
no.
Excuse me, hello,
Yeah, I feel you.
So, a couple years ago, I bought Studio One 5, so I'm still really learning. And because you can open up the Reason rack in Studio One, I'm moving over. God bless Reason. I've done a lot of great, wonderful projects. In that, it's so intuitive and it was so very easy. I have an extensive library, but you know what? I'll just integrate that into the new situation.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Yeah, I'm still on 10, and I've heard about the 12 and all that, but like I said, I'm almost kind of like you. I'm trying to think, I'm like, where am I going to go right now? So right now, I'm just going to kind of gradually do some, some looking around and just continue where I'm at right now until I kind of slowly convert, do some conversions here.
Exactly. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, man. I am so grateful for the time that you've given. You're so comfortable to talk to, man. I don't know if I offered you the plate of greens and cornbread like you guys did me, because you treated me like it was like a virtual salt meat, man.
Yes,
Mac was on, Joyce was on, you were on. It was a great time. So I would tell you, my brothers and sisters, to check out GHP, the Indie Live Spot on Facebook. On YouTube every single Saturday, 3 p.m. It would be for Easterners like myself.
Yes.
But you can catch it, and if you can't catch it live, you can definitely catch the replay over and over again if you like wonderful music. And I would say to you, please check out Gary Fuston's solo work. If you love guitar, you will love Gary. Secondly, if you love smooth jazz, you love Gary. If you love to chill and relax, you love Gary. This is the brother right here, man. I thank you so much for coming on, my brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for another great episode on the EntreMusician. That's Gary Fuston. Check his music out, and you will not regret it. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. We will absolutely see you next time. God bless.